Hey everyone, it's Matt from Crank Engineering and we're working on Marko's Triumph chopper, and today we're going to see how quick we can get this hub out of these spokes and rim. Okay, so 8 minutes in, and here's some of the fun parts about working on an old English bike, and that is the hardware. It can be Whitworth threads. Focus camera. Can be Whitworth threads, which means your standard metric tooling or your standard imperial tooling really doesn't fit the fasteners very well, or if at all. So most of the time metric and imperial hardware is measured across the flats, so across the hex, and in this particular case Whitworth is generally identified, as I recall, by the thread diameter. So this might be a 5/16 diameter bolt, and that's how they measure it, so I'm not sure exactly what size it is across the flat, so you end up with a specific set of wrenches to suit Whitworth threaded bolts. So this doesn't fit a 14mm metric socket or a 9/16 imperial socket. It won't fit the next size down at all. So the next size down doesn't fit, and the next size up is too loose. So what happens is you end up rounding the corners of the nuts or the bolt heads, and then they're almost impossible to get off, which is what's happened with this one here. So we're going to have some fun mucking around with this guy to get it loose, and then I'm going to be replacing all these with standard imperial bolts so that we don't have this problem again in the future. So I'll link to my wrenches article and also to an article I've written about thread forms, and if you've got an old English bike, you might have to look for a specific set of wrenches that suit Whitworth thread forms. Okay, I just realised I've got the solution, and that's this one-off investment I made in these flank drive sockets. So this particular brand is called Metrinch, and this particular socket's supposed to be good for 9/16 and 14mm bolt heads, but because it drives off the sides of the head, not off the corners, this is probably going to be able to do the job. So just fits in here next to this hub, so we'll give this a crack and hopefully that will be the solution we're looking for. Okay, that's done the job, so that was worthwhile for English bikes. Let's get on with it. Okay, so maybe I should explain a little bit more about what we're actually doing here. And the rim and spokes on this bike were very badly rusted, so that rim and spokes were going to go in the bin anyway, but we're going to lace up a new rim onto the old hub. So once we've done that, it's going to be pretty hard to clean and paint this item. So that's the reason for chopping off all those spokes now, disassembling the drum off the hub, and next I'll take the bearings out, and if you had a sandblaster you might sandblast this clean or put in a parts washer. But what I'm going to do is firstly wash it and then use an angle grinder with a wire wheel and just clean off all the paint, and then I'll repaint them ready for assembly. And that way the bike, once it comes back, or once the wheel comes back from the builder, it'll shouldn't need to be touched again. So just doing prep work so that we don't have to do it again later on.